Hello friends, welcome to Your Athletic Mind. I am Coach Amit and I am a certified squash coach. What is visualization? How can we use this technique to produce better results? And what are the benefits? To get answers to all these questions, we have invited a special guest and a very dear friend of mine today, Tom Ford. Tom has been the under 19 European squash number 1. He has played numerous professional squash tournaments and has won many of them. He has traveled all around the world to train budding squash athletes. Tom has always been very passionate and interested about the mental side of the game, a common interest which led us to connect with each other a few years ago. So I don't think we can have a better guest to discuss on this topic than Tom Ford. So let's dive right in. So hi Tom and welcome to Your Athletic Mind.
Hi Amit, thanks for inviting me on.
So today we have invited you to discuss about visualization. Thank you so much for being here with us. So my first question to you, Tom, is what exactly is visualization?
Sure. Well, like we've mentioned before, it's a big topic, but I guess ultimately we're always visualizing. Whether we're aware of it or not, we're creating scenarios in our minds, either reflecting on the past, creating imaginary situations in the future. So we have this faculty of imagination and the ability to visualize the future and the past. I would say often we're doing it very unconsciously, and I would say more often than not we're doing it in a negative way. We're thinking about what negative things might happen in the future. Not always, but a lot of the time. And what the practice of visualization is simply to do this consciously, to be aware of visualizing a future event with the intention of visualizing ourselves performing that event or performing in that event in the best possible way that it can be. But I thought it's important to say that we always are visualizing. It's not something that you can or can't do. We're just maybe not aware of it, or we haven't honed it as a practice yet.
Great, Tom. So my another question is, there are many athletes, there are many coaches listening to this, watching this video. So if they want to use this technique of visualization to produce better results and they want to use it to prepare for their competitions or their matches, what do you suggest? How can they use this technique?
Sure. Well, there are two types of visualization that I know of at the moment. One that I would say is probably the most well known, which is where you visualize a set skill. It's often in a closed environment, so you're visualizing yourself repeatedly doing the same skill over and over again. So it might be shooting a basketball hoop, taking a penalty kick, or hitting a drop shot in squash. But the idea is that you're visualizing yourself performing that same skill repeatedly over and over again in the way that you would like to, in the perfect scenario. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that really works. There's a very famous or well-known study of college students in basketball. They were split. There was a group of the study, and they all performed free throws, and were recorded how many free throws they got in a certain amount of time. And then they were split into 3 groups. The first group didn't practice at all for 30 days. They weren't allowed to go anywhere near a court or throw a ball or anything like that. The second group practiced every day, whether it was for half an hour, it's a little uncertain, but they practiced every day. They shot free throws for 30 days every day. And then the third group, for the same amount of time, whether it was 30 minutes or an hour, they visualized themselves performing free throws and hitting them every time. After those 30 days, there wasn't really, there was a decline in the people that didn't train. And there was something like a 24% improvement with the people that practiced. the free throws in person, and only a 23% increase in the people that visualized it. It's only 1% difference. And this is a very well-known and well-cited thing regarding the efficacy of mental rehearsal. Because really the mind and the body don't know the difference between a real or an imagined event. There's a physiological response to the way that we think and the way that we visualize things. So that's the first one. That's not actually one that I've done a huge amount, but fortunately there's a lot of research that suggests its benefits. The other one is from more of like a performance standpoint, in terms of performing in competition, which I think is slightly different. Obviously, you need to be able to perform refined skills very well, but there's so much more of a personal and psychological element to performing at your best as a whole. And the way that I think about that is, rather than visualizing a very specific scenario, I would visualize what does it feel like for me to perform at my best. So it's much more of a personal experience rather than thinking about necessarily any specifics that happen in the match or the scenario that we're wanting to perform at our best. So thinking more, how do I feel physically? How do I feel mentally, emotionally? Like what is the experience of performing at my best? And how does and really tuning into that feeling and refining that feeling and reminding ourselves of that feeling. Because particularly in tournament or competitive environments, we get nervous, and it's very difficult. We often think of the worst case scenario and what things are like when they go bad, and we become very afraid or nervous or a whole bunch of different things. So to be reaffirming what it feels like to be performing at our best, and at least we're knowing that all we can do is perform at our best. The outcome is not necessarily in our hands, like you've said in a previous video. So that element of visualization is also very important. And I guess the answer is both are equally important. You know, you can use the skills one as a way of improving your skills. I suspect it's particularly useful if you're injured or you're in a pandemic when you can't practice as much. But then, like I said, you can practice your skills a million times, but if you get in the way of yourself because you're not performing at your best, it doesn't matter, because you're never going to execute those skills in the first place. I guess the good news is, in terms of specifics about visualization, the process is pretty much the same. So the first step is just to relax, sit or lie down, get yourself into a comfortable position, and just spend a few moments just sort of focusing on your breathing, bringing yourself into the moment. I don't think this is a process to rush, it's a process to ease yourself into. And the more that you ease yourself into it, the deeper you'll be able to go and the better the practice will be. Once you've got yourself into a slightly calmer, more relaxed and clearer state, then it will be time to slowly bring yourself into the scenario or the environment that you want to visualize. And the best way of doing that is through your senses. So thinking about, what do you see? Like, what do you see in this environment? What do you smell? What do you hear? And different senses will trigger different people. So for me, like, I would very much want to see it, whereas someone else might want to hear it or smell it. The point is that you slowly kind of introduce your senses to the point where you're trying to deepen your experience so much that you believe that you're in that environment. Another maybe important one is to think about, obviously, how you feel. How is your body in that scenario? And then once you've kind of got yourself into that scenario, then you just deepen that experience either through repetition. So if it's the skill, then you're just practicing that skill. And if it's in a performance sense, you're kind of self-inquiring, like, what would I feel like, if I'm performing at my best, or what do I feel like in my body, in my mind, when I'm performing at my best? And really, that's the process, and all of it is really a practice in and of itself. The more you do it, the more familiar you're going to get with what works best for you, what things trigger you to go a little bit deeper into that experience. And yeah, it takes time. I think it's similar to meditation. I think meditation is also a really helpful thing to do alongside it, or in conjunction with it.
I think a couple of months back, I'll just let the audience know I was fortunate enough to get a telephonic visualization session from you. And I remember I was struggling with a shot, and first you made me visualize a shot which I'm very confident about, and you made me completely relaxed. And then once I was there in that relaxed mode, then you took me to the shot which I was struggling with. And then you
Yeah.
made me visualize that particular shot, which made it so much more easier. I think if you would have taken me directly to the difficult
Mm.
shot, it would have been tougher for me to put myself in that situation.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's just that point that you've made really highlights one the key things with it really is that the more progressively you do it and you slowly ease your way into it, the more effective it's likely to be. And I think that's maybe one of the problems or the issues is that we want to jump straight to like the practice straight away without understanding that the visualization practice is literally from the moment you sit down until you end. It's not just about visualizing yourself doing the free throws or doing performing at your best. It takes time to kind of layer yourself into a receptive enough state to be able to for it to be really helpful. And I guess another way of thinking about it just finally is a lot of it will tend to happen in the mind, and we're trying to think our way through the visualization, but it's really more about feeling. How does it feel to be in that situation? You feel it in your body. It's the body that remembers. And like you said, you need to feel what it's a very tangible experience to know what it feels like to execute a good drop shot, and then to think about what it feels like to perform a shot that you don't like. You feel it in the body in a very different way than if you're just thinking about it. So that's a really critical thing for me is take your time to like layer through the practice, but the feeling component in the body is vital as well.
I would like to ask the last question to you, Tom, is what are the
Sure.
benefits of visualization?
The benefits of visualization, the mind, like I said at the beginning, the mind and the body don't know the difference between a real or an imagined event. So the deeper that you can go in your visualization practice over time, your body is literally not going to know the difference between whether you're doing it in a visualization or whether you're going to wherever you are to do it to practice. It's a pretty strong benefit, I would say, to be able to do. Secondly, and lastly, like I said, we're always visualizing, whether we're aware of it or not. We're always thinking about the past, future, creating different events in our mind, regardless of whether it's about performing or not. I think ultimately we're always performing either at our best or not in life. Um, and if you can firstly become more aware of the fact that you are always visualizing, but then secondly to create a better narrative about what you are visualizing by being aware of it, but by also having a specific practice where you're choosing to visualize what you want to bring into your life, it's going to be I think what you consistently think about is likely to manifest in your life.
Absolutely.
So just that awareness and that practice of refining what you're thinking about and doing it in a way that is more conducive to bringing what you want to your life rather than thinking about what you don't want or what you're afraid of.
Thank you so much again for sharing your thoughts. I'm sure the audience will find these inputs really, really useful. They will use this technique before going to their competition, before competing, before their matches, and produce better results. Because finally, like you and I know, it's a mind game, isn't it? It's the mental
Sure.
side which separates the athletes today.
Yeah, thanks, Amit. Thanks again for inviting me on, and just well done for everything that you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank
It's
you.
great.
Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, take care.
Cheers.
I hope you like this video on visualization and you can use this technique to produce better results not only in sports but all other areas of your life. I'm going to share many such interesting topics related to sports and fitness, so please subscribe to Your Athletic Mind. Also, like, share and comment. This is Coach Amit signing off till we meet in our next video. Bye bye.